Hello everyone, I'm Uncle Gui. It's time for another bedtime story. If you're scared, type 1 in the comments. If you're not scared, type eyeball. The Strange Tales Society collects spine-chilling horror stories submitted by fans, and all the following stories are told in the first person. Remember, never watch this alone at night. The Mystery of the Ancient Coin. Gui says my hometown is in a small town in Anhui province, and that town really isn't very big. There's just one pedestrian street which is considered the busiest part. My home happened to be right in the center of that street. At that time, my family was in the clothing business. We had 2 shops. The business wasn't exactly booming, but it was enough for our family to live quite comfortably. We could be considered a well-off household. My grandfather used to work as a staff member in a prison. Later on, for reasons I never really understood, he developed high blood pressure and also suffered from dementia, along with many other illnesses. I was young at the time, so I couldn't really figure out what exactly he was sick with. For as long as I can remember, my grandfather would always sit at the end of the corridor on the 2nd floor of our house. That grand armchair was really heavy. It felt like it took a lot of effort just to move it a little. Grandpa would just sit there, completely motionless, his eyes staring intently at everyone who walked past him. Back then, I was still a child and didn't understand things. I had no idea why Grandpa sat there every single day. Plus, the lighting in the corridor was always dim, and when the light shone on Grandpa's face, it looked really eerie. In my heart, I felt that Grandpa's face was so gloomy, it looked pretty scary to me. I remember when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I had a really strange dream, and it scared me terribly. It made my fear of Grandpa even deeper. The whole tone of Inner Mongolia in the dream was deep blue, and I felt as if I had lost all weight. I slowly started to move, but my body didn't have any real sensation at all. It felt as if I was suspended weightlessly in the air, drifting slowly through the aisles of our family shop. When I floated over to the stairway and looked up, I was shocked to see my grandpa standing there, looking healthy and standing perfectly straight. My mom and my sister were sitting on the ground a few meters in front of him. At that moment, I didn't even have time to wonder why they were sitting there. I just saw my grandpa turn his head toward me, and his teeth had become sharp, long, and razor-like. They looked exactly like the vampires you see on TV. I woke up from the dream in an instant. And that scene is still vivid in my mind to this day. I just can't forget it, no matter what. 2 years later, as I gradually grew older and learned more about life, I kept thinking about my grandpa's sinister gaze and his face, thin as a skeleton. It seemed like I was slowly able to accept it and I wasn't as scared anymore. But who could have imagined that when Grandpa got old? On the very first night of the vigil, something strange happened. That night happened to be the Mid-Autumn Festival, and the moon was exceptionally bright. It was so bright outside that it looked just like daytime. I had just finished a big meal at my grandpa's old house and, feeling full, decided to take a walk along the old village path to help digest. I should tell you, this old village is located a bit farther out from the pedestrian street where my family lives. I'm an impatient person and really wanted to go out and play, so I slipped away from where the adults were gathered. I found a crossroads and started kicking pebbles there. There was only one street lamp at that intersection, and its light was dim, only illuminating half of the road. I stood on the lit side, head down, kicking pebbles with enthusiasm. Suddenly, I heard a girl's voice calling me from ahead. Judging by her voice, she seemed about my age, and it came from the shadowy area where the street lamp couldn't reach. She asked me, "What are you guys doing?" I didn't really think much of it at the time, so I just casually replied, "Come over and play with us." But unexpectedly, she asked again, "What are you guys doing?" At that moment, I was a bit confused, wondering why this girl kept asking the same question. I squinted hard into the shadows, trying to see what she actually looked like. But strangely, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make out even a rough outline. All I could do was hear her voice, and it felt like she was only about 5 or 6 meters in front of me. At this moment, the girl spoke again. "I've got something fun here. Come over and play." At that time, I was just upset that there was nothing fun to do. As soon as I heard her say that, my feet started moving unconsciously toward the direction of the voice. But after just 2 steps, my sister suddenly grabbed me from behind and asked, "Where are you going?" I replied. "There's someone over there calling me to play." As soon as my sister heard that, she immediately said, "It's pitch dark over there. There's no one there. Come back right now. Dad told me to watch you. You're not allowed to run around." I was really confused. When I turned back to listen for the girl's voice in that shadowy place, it was as if she had never appeared at all. It was gone in an instant. I was completely confused and had no idea how I ended up at that intersection so inexplicably. Then, I obediently followed my sister back to our parents. The next morning, after it got light, I was still thinking about what happened, so I went to that intersection again. And when I looked, I found that there was actually a big truck parked in the direction where the voice had come from yesterday. I was actually quite surprised, but since nothing had happened, I figured there was no point overthinking it, so I didn't ask any more questions. Later, when my grandfather passed away, there was a custom in our area. The relatives and friends of the deceased would all walk together to the main road of the old village, then kneel facing my grandfather's house. With the help of the master of ceremonies, a soul-calling ritual would be held. As for the master of ceremonies, he first took out a wooden board. The surface of that board was very smooth, with hardly any bumps or uneven spots. Then he took out a copper coin. We used to have a lot of those at home, so I guess my dad just grabbed one from the house at random. The master of ceremonies handed the copper coin to my dad and had him make some promises to my grandpa, like saying he would treat the family well in the future. Then he told my dad to place his thumb over the hole in the coin. Next, he had my dad press the coin onto the wooden board. But no matter how many times my dad tried, the coin kept falling off and just wouldn't stick to the board. So, with no other choice, my mom took a turn trying to press it. The first time my mom tried, she said, "I will take good care of the kids and their father." But still, the imprint didn't take. Maybe it was because my dad had some conflicts with my grandpa when he was younger. Their father-son relationship had always been a bit strained. Then my mom said something else. "I will take good care of both children. You can leave without any worries." Then, as she lifted her thumb, that copper coin actually stuck right onto the wooden board. I was standing right next to her, eyes wide open, watching the whole thing. My mom doesn't know any magic tricks, and in such a serious situation, who would even think of joking around? Besides, the wooden board was so thick, there was no way a magnet or anything like that could make the copper coin stick firmly to it. At that moment, when the master of ceremonies saw that the coin was stuck, he slammed the wooden board down onto the ground with a bang. Immediately after that, everyone present started crying all at once. This incident left a deep impression on me. As a science student, I kept wondering what principle could possibly make that copper coin stick to the wooden board. I don't believe in ghosts or anything supernatural at all. I just think there are some principles that people haven't discovered yet. In October 2021, when I had nothing to do, I dug out a copper coin from home. I thought I'd try to follow the steps of that soul-summoning ritual myself and see what would happen. I searched all over my room trying to find a wooden board for the experiment, but after a long time, I still couldn't find one. Just as I was about to give up, it suddenly occurred to me that the chair I was sitting on was made of wood, wasn't it? So, I crouched behind the back of the chair and stuck the copper coin onto the armrest of the wooden chair. The chair I was sitting on was lacquered with an especially smooth surface, so there was no chance of any suspicious situations like wood splinters or static electricity. When I let go, the copper coin fell straight to the ground with a clatter, just like before. I couldn't believe it, so I tried several more times. No matter how hard I pressed or how long I held it there, the copper coin just kept falling on its own and simply wouldn't stick. So I started wondering, at which step did I go wrong? As I kept thinking about it, I suddenly remembered that the master of ceremonies had asked my dad to recite something back then, like a chant or a promise. So I started silently repeating in my heart, "Grandpa, please help me put it on." As I kept repeating, "Grandpa, please help me," all of a sudden, I felt like the copper coin was stuck in place, as if it had been glued there. I slowly let go of my hand, and to my surprise, the copper coin really stuck there, just like during the soul-calling ritual that day. It was firmly attached to the armrest of the wooden chair. I was stunned at that moment, just spacing out, when I suddenly felt an indescribable force drilling into my mind. Instinctively, I used my fingernail to try to pry the copper coin off. But as soon as I tried to pry it off, I found that the spot where the copper coin was attached actually started to emit heat and even formed little beads of steam like white droplets. But I clearly remember that when I pressed it down, there wasn't any steam around at all. Holding the copper coin in my hand, I could still feel that force trying to drill into my mind. At that moment, I was terrified and wanted to scream out loud, but even though I opened my mouth for a long time, I just couldn't make a sound. All that fear was trapped in my eyes, and in the end, I was so overwhelmed that I started to cry. Me, a grown guy and a high school student, actually got so scared that I cried. Looking back, I think maybe this is what the older generation calls being possessed by evil spirits. But that wasn't the end of it. After that, I started experiencing sleep paralysis every few days. One night, just like usual, I fell asleep and started dreaming. In the dream, I found myself sitting on a roller coaster, and beneath the roller coaster was a deep pool of water. I was sitting right at the front. All of a sudden, the roller coaster plunged straight into that deep water. The water rushed right up into my nose. I felt like I couldn't breathe, as if someone was sticking their fingers or something else into my mouth, grabbing my tongue and pulling it upward. It felt as if something had stabbed into my throat as well, and that suffocating sensation washed over me like a tide, overwhelming me all at once. My entire mind was filled with that unbearable feeling, and I just wanted to cry out for help. But I simply couldn't make a sound. In the end, I suddenly jolted awake, and as soon as I woke up, I quickly opened my mouth and gasped for air. But it's like this thing just won't let me go. As soon as I'm about to forget about it, it comes back all over again. Even now, when I'm already in college, I still sometimes dream of that suffocating feeling in the dorm, as if someone is pulling my tongue and poking my throat with their fingers. Take my experience as a warning. Never risk your own safety to test out those strange and mysterious things. Some psychological wounds take a very long time to slowly heal. Alright, that's the end of this episode. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. If you have any inexplicable or even spine-chilling experiences or terrifying stories from people around you, you're welcome to submit them to Uncle Ghost for the next episode. Until we meet again.